and thank you, Sandy and Max and the team that was involved organizing and promoting the event. This is our first time participating in the challenge, and very excited about the opportunity to talk about our company. Is this my clicker here? We good? Okay. So Hatch Data. So we have been around for more than a decade. So we came from our founding team. Vivek and I have both worked together for more than a decade from clean tech pioneer Enernoc. And Hatch Data itself was founded in 2019. So our group from Enernoc had separated from Anel after the acquisition and founded Hatch specifically to focus on commercial real estate and the problems affecting commercial real estate. So today, we have 550 million square feet, almost 3,000 buildings. We work across most major markets in North America. In New York specifically, we've got roughly more than 30 million square feet, and we work across all asset types. So we do get confused oftentimes with just focusing on commercial office, campus office, but we have beachheads in most asset types. The problem, could I get some help with this keeps turning off. Yeah. Okay. We can skip through the prospecting slide for our competitors in the room, but we do work with reputable companies. Many of whom have assets in New York, so Hine, Boston Properties, Beacon, AEW, Oxford all have assets in Manhattan. And we really see the problem that we're solving as twofold. So we could submit an application both in Category 1 and Category 2. So the first problem that we're solving is obviously there's a portfolio reporting challenge that organizations have, whether they're responding to GRESB, whether they're setting a decarbonization target, their own annual sort of ESG disclosures, CDP, et cetera. Like there are portfolio level challenges to wrap your arms around all that data. Those data come from different sources. They can come from utility bills. They can come from meters. Oftentimes owners have a challenge between directly and indirectly managed utilities. So those indirectly managed utilities can be a real pain if you're having to survey tenants on an annual basis to collect that data, but you can use metering solutions oftentimes that give you the ability with green leases to grab that data automatically. And so we want to help organizations with that. And then as these disclosure frameworks mature, Local Law 97, so if you went from 84, 87 to 97, you see that evolution. And we feel like GRESB is the same way, and these other frameworks are the same way, where they're going to be asking more of you to do more at the asset level. So you've reported and complied, you've set a target. What are you going to do in order to achieve that target? And so the trick here is the data that you're collecting for reporting and disclosure, how are you making that data extensible? So all of that data that you're collecting for your GRESB report or for your annual ESG reporting can be used at the asset level. You have 100,000 employees in New York in the building engineering, maintenance, cleaning trades. You've got people in the building that are responsible for maintaining those assets. So how are you presenting that data in a way that's clear and easy to use? And so if you want to make progress toward decarbonization, you can make recommendations with that data and put that in the hands of those folks and able to get to your goals and your targets faster. And we'll talk a little bit about this in the demo, but there's a number of different data types, and there's often point solutions in the market with each of these data types. But we will ingest bill data, meter data, sub-meter data, equipment level data from BAS networks or standalone IoT networks. So anything that you have, every building's a snowflake. I heard Michael mention that a few times. Anything that you have in the building will be able to centralize, and that's what Hatch was built for. So you design the program as an owner or an operator based on your needs in the program that you want to build. And depending on what you select, we can bring that into the data for analysis. And again, focusing on those operators, that's really where we want to differentiate ourselves in the market. We want to make it easy to consume for the operator, take the data, analyze the data, present recommendations on how to run the buildings more efficiently, and then deliver them those recommendations either through our application or your own work order management systems, building engines, Angus, et cetera. We've got a number of integrations stamped up today. So we'll do the video.
Yeah, so I'll try to speak very quickly over this recorded video, if we can swap over to that. But we've developed our application with ease of use and simplicity in mind. We have a mobile app which has real time and that is not our video. Looks nice though. So we have a mobile app that supports real-time and on-site workflows, but with the web app, you'll see that we've focused on providing actionable information that helps operators get in, get out, and get on with their day. So whenever we'll have that up, we'll quickly run through that. Oh, you don't have it? Sorry, I did not have a video. Oh, okay. David, do you have the video? Right.
Yeah. Give us 1 second.
Sure.
You guys have anything to
You want to keep going on the slides?
Yeah, we can come back to the demo at the end.
And we'll adjust the time, obviously.
It's okay. I mean, we did have 2 case studies that we were going to breeze through at the end, so we can talk through that just to put things in perspective. So the first is Rubenstein Partners, so they're a firm based in Philadelphia. We started with 1 building actually in Maryland. We ingest bill data and meter and sub-meter data for these folks. And the first building that we stood up was almost a bad example to use in this room because most of the buildings we look at in New York are fairly well run, but we saved more than 30%. And that was a great use case, and they did a pilot project. That's oftentimes how we'll work with customers. We start, sort of prove it. And since then, we've rolled out across their full portfolio of owned and managed sites. So there's more than 70 buildings on the platform, and the results have been an increase in their Energy Star score of more than 15 points. And what we're doing for these guys is really sort of a fully managed service. So it's all of their ESG sort of data collection, benchmarking, local compliance, meter and sub-meter. So all of their tenant sub-meter networks flow through Hatch. We meet with their engineers on a monthly basis to review the data and recommendations and help them with implementation, and then tenant sub-metering and billing as well. So it's a fully managed program for Rubenstein. Boston Properties, which has a large portfolio in New York, is a different type of case study. We've worked with Boston Properties for more than a decade, and I think a lot of people look at these technologies almost as a project where it's you do a retro commissioning study, or you view persistent commissioning as the ability to come into an asset, generate a return, and then it diminishes its value over time. And it's the opposite of what we saw at Boston Properties. So we started with meter level data across most of their assets. So we have more than 100 properties on the platform today. We ingest bill data, meter data, and equipment level data. And they view it as foundational for their energy management and ESG programs. And even though the return, when we saw in those early years, I think it was about a 7% ROI, or 7% savings in terms of energy cost and consumption across the portfolio early on, that has shrunk over time. But the operational use cases that the engineering teams have developed in using the data, it's become almost standards-based, where they just expect to have this visibility in how they operate their buildings, and we ensure that we plug into those workflows at the asset level. And just before we get to the demo, perfect. But we'll just talk a little bit about, this room is, we're focused on, how are we helping solve for decarbonization? And what we're talking about really in what a real estate company or fund would use to pursue those goals are the first 2 steps. It's centralize the data, ensure that you're reporting and complying in the way that you need to, and then ensuring that that data is extensible so that you're using that data to optimize the actual asset. There's going to be a bunch of activities on the back end of this in terms of looking at electrification, not too quickly, which we talked about earlier, but sourcing renewable energy, all that stuff. The interval data, the build data, it's foundational for those exercises. So we support these activities today, and we're going to, as we go along, our product roadmap will continue to have more and more functionality focused on these items. So, do quick demo. Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks. So as Ben talked about, I'll show you here how the bill, meter, and equipment data kind of come together in our application. So you're looking at here, it all starts on the performance page, where you can quickly check in on your portfolio or individual assets to see how they're doing. And so on the portfolio page here, you can compare individual assets by key metrics like energy intensity and baseline variance. And then you have some aggregate performance metrics here around baseline and utility variance. You can dig into an asset either by clicking on one of those boxes if you've seen an outlier there, or you can click into the location selector here. So on the asset page, we have all the real-time commodity data, so electricity, natural gas, steam, along with weather data. But one of the most used tools in our software is this, our granular baseline models. So these provide an hourly projection using past performance and current operating conditions to be able to see how the building's performing. And as you can see, you have different training periods to be able to see, how that building's doing versus pre-COVID benchmarks versus kind of reoccupancy as well. We have some additional performance metrics here like degree day analysis. And then finally, you can see here where the bill data comes into play, where you can track utility data variance using the financial data. If you want to dig in, you can do that in Explorer to see all of your time series data. So you have a blank canvas here to be able to trend data over a date, any date range, any sort of interval. And you can do interesting analyses here to be able to see how tenant load kind of compares with energy demand. I have a couple examples here. So obviously you can see how air handlers contribute to that overall load. Our platform also supports DERs today, so you see solar here and how that interacts with grid demand. And then finally, we have the BAS data as well. So electricity BAS data, we can connect to BAS data through a variety of means to be able to pull that in. But the core of our application, the real value is in measures. So as Ben said, our measures can be integrated with, you can manage them here or within different work order systems. So with the meter data, we can, identify if your early start is not programmed optimally, or if you have some loads that might be running 24/7. But where we can really identify the root cause, some really useful information is when we pull that equipment data in. So we've been in this business for a long time. So our approach, we've built out heuristics with energy engineers over the past decade, and then also applied machine learning algorithms to be able to provide these recommendations that you're seeing here that really identify things that you may not be able to, kind of see or experience if you're in the building. And so yeah, that's our solution.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great job, and our apologies for the technical.
No problem.
That's what happens when we're live.
Yeah.